Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side Podcast. I'm your host, Paul James Caden, and I hope everyone is safe and well out there. With this whole coronavirus thing going on, it's definitely an interesting situation in the world right now. And this podcast, probably for the last couple of weeks, has been kind of like coronavirus central. There's a lot of ideas out there about the virus, a lot of theories, a lot of conspiracy theories. And as usual, I try to be a voice of reason and a voice of balance in all of this because so many people believe so many different things, or they believe whatever they're told or whatever comes down the pike. And, our friends, the conspiracy theorists who call themselves the truthers or the truth community are really having a field day with this whole coronavirus thing. And that's what I want to talk about today in this episode. Taking things in a little bit different direction, because I think we need to be aware of this. I think we need to think about this very seriously. And the topic, the title of today's episode is, could certain truthers be a danger or a detriment in a true emergency situation? And sadly, and there may be some people out there who disagree with me. There may be some people who will get angry when I say this. There may be some people that will just want to turn the podcast off and never listen again. But I have to say it. In my opinion, I honestly feel that there are some truthers and conspiracy theorists out there that could be an absolute danger and detriment in a real emergency situation. I just saw that my co-host Stan Wangland from the podcast The People Under the Stairs did a show on his solo podcast, which is called Just Thinking with Stan Wangland, if you wanted to look that up. He just did a podcast about science and the truth does matter. And he kind of covers this topic that we do have to listen to what the scientists are saying. We do have to listen to what many of the medical professionals are saying. This thing is spreading. They've come out now and said that it is 10 times more deadly than the flu. We're seeing people in the government. We're seeing people in Hollywood, actors and actresses. Tom Hanks and his wife just tested positive for the coronavirus. We have people in professional sports who are testing positive. So this is not something that's just an imaginary crisis. And see, that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems with the truth community, is everything becomes fake news. Everything is false. Everything is a psyop. Everything is a big lie. Everything that we see going on, Tom Hanks and his wife and these people in the sports industry and, people in our government that are in self-quarantine or say that they tested positive for coronavirus. Well, they're just acting. They're just playing their part to perpetuate the big scare and the big hoax on everybody else. Now, listen, folks, if you know me or have listened to my show for any period of time, You know full well I do not trust the government. You know full well I don't put anything past them. You know full well that I believe they have a very devious, globalist agenda where the few rule and the few are in control of all of the resources. And I don't fully doubt that this particular virus is something that was unleashed on the mass populace by the government, somebody's government. Now, I can't prove that. You know, it is a theory. It's an idea. Because I'm one of those crazy people that do believe in the chemtrailing that's taking place in our skies. And I don't know how so many people are blind to that, but people are blind to a lot of things in this day and age, so that doesn't surprise me. The whole mindset of the world today is prove it, and then when you give them any kind of proof, they say, well, that doesn't prove anything. So their own ignorant and arrogant opinion overrides even the proof, the solid, concrete proof that you put in front of them. But I can't prove that this is something that was released by the government or sprayed in the chemtrailing I talked about in shows past, where they did these experiments back in the 1950s, spraying live viruses out of airplanes or injecting them in eggs and putting them on the market. So I don't put anything past these people. They're absolutely sick and demented, and their philosophy and their religion that they follow is very twisted. It's very dark. But I want to say this right up front. It doesn't matter whether this is a natural occurrence, a virus that just came upon us. It doesn't matter if it was released by the government or a government. It doesn't matter whether it is being sprayed out of airplanes or injected into our eggs or put in vaccines that they're giving us. It doesn't really matter at this point where it came from. The point is, it is not fake news. It is not a hoax. It is not something that the media is just out there trying to create panic with. Although I'm sure that there are some media outlets that will, of course, want to run with that fear factor. That's what the media does. But the coronavirus is not a hoax. It is not fake news. It is not just another cold or the flu. It is a reality, and it is more contagious than the flu. It spreads more easily and rapidly. And as they have come out and now said, it is about 10 times more deadly than the flu. So this is one of the ways in which truthers, truth community, conspiracy theorists can be a detriment or a danger in a real emergency situation. Because they go out there and they tell people these things, and they share with people these choice, hand-picked little clips off of the internet or off of articles. And it doesn't even matter where the article comes from. I've seen some of these people sharing articles as if they were gospel truth from something like the Sun magazine online. Now, the Sun is like the Inquirer. It is just nonsensical, sensationalist, fictionalized news to sell their paper. It's basically propaganda and entertainment. Once in a great while, they will talk about something that is actually real, but you have to go through half a dozen other sources to make sure, that what they're saying is the truth. And usually it's not. So the truth community doesn't care where they get their information. I think there's another online source, The Guardian. Don't quote me on that. But I mean, there's a lot of them that have Inquirer magazine, tabloid magazine kind of reporting. And these people, if you notice, always check the source. Because many times these people will take their information from such sources. Let me spit it out. Or they'll take little quotes or little pieces of videos from people whose credentials and track record are less than honest, authentic, well-researched. So they don't generally care where they get their information as long as it agrees with what they're saying. And that is a real danger and a detriment. Because most people, they don't know the Sun from the Guardian, from the New York Times, to the Inquirer, to People magazine, to the TV Guide, to, the local newspaper. They don't know. All they know is, here's an article from a news source, a newspaper, and this is what it says. And I'm proving to you that the coronavirus, it's just a cold, it's just the flu, it's fake, it's a hoax. So they get more people believing in this absolute nonsense. And then people let their guard down. They don't take the necessary precautions. They don't protect themselves. They go out in public. They touch shopping carts. They touch things on the shelf. They touch their face. They rub their eyes. They touch their nose. They go out to lunch. They eat food without washing their hands. So they're putting themselves at risk. I mean, not only for the common cold and the flu, which could be deadly to the elderly, but also upping their chances of getting something like the coronavirus if it's in their area. So these truthers are putting people's lives at risk with their fake news from the spurious sources that they share their information from. And that is a problem, folks. That is a problem. And I'll tell you, when I do a podcast like this and I put it on a platform like YouTube or other social media platforms where it's shared, look at the comments. Look at the actual fantastical, crazy, convoluted shit, if I may use that word, that people post in some of their comments and say, oh, this is what it is. This is what's happening. And people believe it. Because A, it either sounds intelligent to them, or B, it sounds intelligent to them because it's so damn confusing they can't decipher what the person's saying, so it must be true. This must be beyond college-level genius information. You know, it sounds funny, but it's the truth. All of this bad information coming from these people that are supposed to be the truth community. And how many people are they going to put at risk with their faulty information? And these are the people, and these are going to be the people, that if a county, a city, the entire country like Italy has to go on lockdown, these are going to be the idiots that break the quarantine, break the lockdown, wandering out in the streets, going in contact with other people. Oh, it's fake news. They just want to lock us down. Maybe they do. They probably do. You know, would our government be involved or take advantage of a situation like this? Those elitists? I'm sure they would. But we're going to have all these idiots out there. It's nothing. They just want to, you know, how long is it going to be before the truth community and all their little militias are storming the streets, crying foul play in the midst of a pandemic, for crying out loud? And then, when the National Guard is called in, then when there's martial law, then when they're arrested and thrown in jail, they'll say, oh, see? They didn't want us out there telling the truth. No, you were just acting like a complete ass. Putting yourself and other people at risk. Not doing what you're supposed to do in an actual emergency situation to keep yourself, your family, your neighbors, and your community safe. So these are absolutely the people that are going to do the absolute wrong thing in an emergency situation. And they call themselves the truthers, the preppers. Oh, they're always ready. They're always stocked up. They're always ready for that big shit hits the fan situation. But when one actually comes, it's fake news. Let's go out and just tra-la-la through the streets, do whatever the hell we want, come in contact with other people, get in trouble with the law. You watch, particularly here in America, if there is some kind of lockdown that's set in place, these people will eventually start going bonkers. And how else are they a detriment and a danger to other people? Well, most of them are the ones that are going out to the stores and buying up all the hand sanitizer. It's fake news. It's fake news. We don't have to worry about the coronavirus. But we do have to worry about the government that's perpetuating this lie, and they're going to lock us all down, and we're going to be in a martial law situation. And they're still out there, even though they're not worried about the coronavirus. I mean, some people are that are buying up all these things, but some of them are just the preppers, the truthers, being prepared for the government to try to put that final nail in our coffin. They're the ones out there buying up all the toilet paper, all the hand sanitizer, all the different supplies. Oh, these good Christian, religious, Bible-thumping truthers always telling us we need to receive Jesus and follow the Bible. But when it comes to a moment like this, the coronavirus is fake. We don't need to worry about it. But I'm going to go out and buy up all of the supplies so no one else can get any. I'm going to have 2 years worth of toilet paper and medical masks and gloves and cold medicine and rice and whatever else I need in my house. But I don't care if anybody else gets any. Now, again, I'm sure that it's not the truthers going out there and buying up everything. I'm sure there are people that are just in a panic mode that are buying things and they're not even sure why. As I talked about in my podcast with my friend Kevin Town, they probably hear this on the news and they go out and they start buying all this toilet paper and they probably don't even know why they're buying it. It never dawns on them if something does happen and you run out of toilet paper, geez, you can hop in the shower and hose yourself off. You can use a towel. You can use a damp towel, a wet towel. There's various things you can do to clean your yonder parts if you defecate. But people just don't seem, they think if they don't have toilet paper, well, holy Jesus, this is the end of the world. We don't think things through. And so there's a lot of people that are just afraid. So yes, they're out there panic buying as well. But I do know people or know of people in the truth community. And yes, they're out there participating in the panic buying. I'm going to get mine, to hell with you. So they're like locusts. They're going to go out and gather up all of the supplies for themselves. And then if there is a true emergency situation, hey, Jesus and the Bible and love thy neighbor is going out the window, they're going to charge you through the nose for a roll of toilet paper if you want one. Hey, I got 6 years worth of toilet paper in my bunker. I'll give you a roll of toilet paper for all the eggs you have, or all the, it's going to be very unfair trade at that time. Because that's what these people are all about. And these are the voices and the personalities that so many people are following after. I've mentioned on previous podcasts about the truth community how I know of some of these people, some of the big names in the truth community that I'm not going to mention here. And these people go around the country, go online and talk to other truthers and preppers, and they're forming militias. And if it really hits the fan, they're all going to come together. They have their little network, and many of them plan. As much Jesus and Bible and get saved and make sure you have Christ as your king, no matter all this junk that they say, when it hits the fan, they plan to go out there and loot the hell, no pun intended, out of their area. And this is another way that they could be a danger and a detriment, because they're going to be a bunch of the people out there looting. Hey, I bought up a bunch of supplies while the getting was good. Now that there's lawlessness creeping across the land and it's everyone from themselves and panic in the street, I'm out there with my buddies. We're armed to the teeth. We're breaking in store windows. We're taking the stuff we need, and we're just hauling it back to wherever it is. We're holding up. Yeah, that's great people. And I'll tell you something else I would put my money on. These are the same people that if they run low on supplies, or they bought a little too much into the fake news, I don't have to worry, so I'm not really going to stock up that much because there's some of those kind of truthers out there too. They're going to be the ones going house to house and looting and robbing other people. I'm hungry. My family's hungry. There's something that I need or we need, and I'm taking it from you at gunpoint. You ever see these apocalypse movies where the guy that always comes and takes someone else's stuff? He's always got the guns, and he's kind of like the redneck. Yeah, I'll just take what you have. I'll take them eggs. I'll take them beans. Well, that's how it's going to be. And that's how they're going to be. Because, a lot of them preppers, they're just them, them kind of guys. And, not poking fun, but, life is going to imitate art once again. And these people, they can get out there and say, the government doesn't care about you. It's fake news. You better have Jesus. You better read the Bible. You better be ready. You better do the right thing. But when it all comes down, I'd place money. They're not going to care about you. They're not going to care about anybody. Jesus and the Bible and Jesus as King and Savior is out the window because they're just going to be running rampant. Because as much as the truth community wants to look at everybody else and call them ignorant and stubborn and stupid and sheeple, well, they're all that stuff too. They're just on the other side of the fence. And you can't talk reason to these people. You can't talk logic to these people. You can't make them understand that some of these sources that they're getting their information from and some of the people they're getting their information from is very faulty. And they're going to be right out there along with everybody else if something bad goes down. Killing and looting and pillaging and taking from others. And the funny thing will be, they'll probably be the people responsible for some of the problems in an emergency situation. I went to the store just last night, and I saw three groups of people just in one visit to the store to grab a couple things. My wife and I saw a man walking through the meat department, down certain aisles of the store, continually coughing in his hand, picking up packages of meat, looking at them, putting them back down. Numerous packages. Goes down another aisle, right in his hand, picks up boxes off the shelf, looks at them, puts them back. So there's class one, the completely unmindful, unaware, completely stupid, ignorant, selfish person who lives in a county where the flu is quite high right now. We haven't had cases of the coronavirus, but I'm sure it will get here eventually. And here he is coughing all over his hand. For all we know, he could be getting the flu or the coronavirus. We don't know. Picking everything up, touching it, putting it back on the shelf. Category 1. Category 2, I saw a woman pushing, I guess it was her mother in a wheelchair, and she had some bags on the back of the wheelchair stuffed with toilet paper, and the old woman in the wheelchair had about 4 to 6 big packages of toilet paper on her lap holding them. And I walked up to them and I said, so, you folks are, participating in the big toilet paper buyout. I said kind of humorously. And they said, well, we need it. I said, well, why do you need it? For what purpose? And they said, well, we need it for people, but we also have puppies. And they're house trained, so we have to clean up after them. So, other words, you have dogs. This is what they were saying. House trained. They don't let them out. So they pee and poop on the floor in some designated area you have for them, and you clean it up with toilet paper. Well, first of all, I don't think that's a good idea. It's not very clean. I wouldn't house train a dog in that way. But they were also a little bit of panic buying, because I asked them, why do you think people are really perseverated on buying all this toilet paper? And they said, we don't know. We've noticed that too. Everybody's buying up toilet paper. This is the only store in town that has toilet paper left. But we need it for, ourselves and our puppies. So there was a little bit of panic buying going on. Then in the toilet paper towel aisle, I saw category number 3. The guy who was sitting at the end of the aisle laughing at everybody else. And as we passed by, and I said, are you laughing at all the panic buying of toilet paper? And he goes, yeah, how stupid is this? The coronavirus is nothing. It's just the flu. It's actually less deadly than the flu. It's nothing. Oh, they're so stupid. And, he walked out of the aisle, kind of laughing to himself. But yet I noticed that he had at least a couple big packs of toilet paper in his cart. So, trip to the store, I saw 3 very distinct categories of people. And it does make you wonder which is going to get us first, the coronavirus, some other virus, or the insanity and oblivious thought processes of people. But between the clueless panic buyer and the completely ignorant, unmindful morons out there that'll walk around a store coughing in their hand and then touching things all over the shelf in the middle of a heavy flu season and a coming pandemic, and everybody's looking at this guy, all eyes in the store. There weren't many people, but as many as there were, all eyes were on this guy. Fearful eyes on this guy. So we have people like that. We have the people that just go out in sheer panic and they don't even know why. And we have the very, I have to use the word, the very ignorant truthers who just, it's nothing, it's fake news, it's cold. But that is one of the ways in which the truthers, some of them, not all, of course, but some truthers will be a detriment and a danger in a true emergency situation, because they're going to be right out there amongst category A and B. Rioting in the streets, looting, stealing from other people, hurting and killing other people that get in their way so they can get what they think they want or they need. They're going to be right there on the front lines with all of the sheeple that they criticize continually. Then there will probably be another group of them that will just flee to the mountains and the woods and probably end up perishing out there because, as we talked about in a previous podcast, very, very, very skilled survivalists and woodsmen have went out and tried to survive in the woods, and some did, but it was nearly impossible. But for the few that did, many had to throw in the towel and go back to civilization because they were sick, they were hungry, they were completely bitten up by, eaten alive by insects, or getting frostbite in the cold. And then another number of them died. And these people were truly experts in things like survival and bushcraft and all of that sort of thing. So the average YouTuber and internet prepper and truther that's out there talking all this nonsense probably isn't going to fare too well. Some will fare better than others for a while, but I don't know how long that will be. And if the government lowers the boom, they know people are going to be retreating to the woods. They're going to know where to look. The trees aren't going to save us. The mountains aren't going to save us. They're going to get us all eventually anyway, if they really want to round us up and throw us into FEMA camps or whatever they're going to do. But a lot of these people, I would go so far to say probably 95% of the truthers and the preppers that talk all their big talk now are going to be right on the front lines with the sheeple that they criticize, causing chaos, pandemonium, and all kinds of problems in the midst of a true emergency situation. That's my honest take on it. I think a lot of these people talk a good talk, but when it comes down to actually doing it, I don't know that they're going to pull it off. At least not on the spiritual, psychological level, because I think they're just going to become barbaric with the rest of the people that are in complete and utter panic. These are things to think about. They really are, and I hope those of you that are thinking people that listen to this podcast will seriously consider these things and seriously consider where the information you're given comes from, especially when it comes from these people. Pay attention to where they share their material from. Look into these internet news sources and newspapers that they share their information from. Are they reputable? Or is it just an online tabloid like The Sun? Because many of them are. And just because, I could go on forever with this, how people look for anything, whether it's in the Bible or the Quran or the news, anything at all to twist, to manipulate, no matter how spurious the source is, anything to prove their point. As long as it agrees with them, they don't care how reputable or how crappy the source is. They'll just throw it out there and go, see, I was right. But yet to them, you could give them all the proof in the world and they'll say, well, that doesn't prove anything. If that's not dangerous, if that's not a problem, then I don't know what is. But folks, as I always say, no matter what happens in the world, how bad it gets, how dire it looks, you put your faith, your trust in God. He's the one who will not let you down. He's the one who has your back no matter what. And he's the one that we're eventually going to return to inevitably anyway. So try to live a good life, even when things are going bad in the world around you or even in your own life. Stay in faith, stay in love, stay in integrity, and always, always use reason and logic. Don't spiral off into all these nonsensical areas that people get off into, whether it sounds religious or not. Check the sources, educate yourself, be reasonable. So I hope I made a little sense today. I always try to, as I said, be balanced and be reasonable when I talk about these things. I appreciate you listening. Stay safe, stay well out there, everybody. Get the facts, not what just somebody tells you. And I will see you all next time here on the Spirit Side.